Hey, it's Lyle here. I've got the Retevis RT76 GMRS handheld radios that I'm going to be taking a look at today. Had my eye on these, decided to just go ahead and purchase them via the Retevis official eBay store. And not sponsored by them, don't have any affiliation with Retevis, but I was looking for a GMRS handheld that supported repeaters, and that was looked like it would be fairly easy to program via PC. So the Retevis checks all those tick marks, and let's take a look at it. All right, let's take a look at the box. We can see model number RT76 for GMRS, 5-watt power output, FCC. Let's go and open it up. So we've got the actual radio here. Flip the radio over. We can see we have an etched in FCC ID. I really like that they etched this in instead of just printing it on the sticker. And that is some sort of etching on there, laser etched maybe. Again, the RT76. Go ahead and set this on the side. We've got a strap, pretty standard belt clip. Battery, let's see, 7.4 volts, 1400 milliamps, and then a nice USB charger, drop-in charger with USB. I really like it when the drop-in chargers are USB. Not a big fan of the Chinese wall warts, and everybody's got USB, and you can find a wide variety of different quality power supplies. So I really like the feel of this radio. Very positive click on the push to talk. Just has a nice weight to it overall. The antenna is not removable. You can see that there's some sort of hole here. Maybe that's for an Allen key in order to adjust that antenna or to put that in place. We've got our 2 screws here for the belt clip. Standard Kenwood style plug on the side with a pretty decent little dust cap there. Rotary switch for selecting our channels, and of course our power on and volume. Let's go ahead and power this guy on. All right, turned it on channel 1.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Interesting. So as I turn the dial quickly, it seems like it's missing channel steps there.
5, 4.
And I'll show you that again here. Let me just spin it quickly.
5.
So I was on 4, went to 5. I spun the knob rather quickly, and it was probably about 6 or 7 clicks there, but it only registered 1.
6, 7.
On the side, we have the monitor button. And on the top is a button that will tell us what channel it's currently on.
7. 7. 7.
I think that's supposed to say 7.
7. 8. 8. 7. 7.
That's a pretty weak sounding 7 there.
7.
It is quite loud. One of the things I don't like about this radio, just off the bat here, is there's no visual way to tell what channel it's on. Although it does have a rotary knob, that rotary knob isn't keyed. So I can...
8. 9. 8.
There's no visual indicator of what channel I'm on. There's also no visual indicator that the radio is on. There's no silkscreen markings on here in order to show the current position of the volume knob. The volume knob is a set rotation that it can do, so all the way on to all the way off, and a click for off that you can feel. Now there is a small little nub here. I don't know if you can see it. I'll grab the other radio here and show you. I actually took a paint pen and put a mark on there so I can see it myself. And let me go ahead and grab that radio here, get these out of the way. All right, so here's the one that I went ahead and put some paint on just to help me see visually where it's at from a volume level perspective.
28.
And you can hear
27.
channel 27. Now, channel 27 is actually a repeater channel. The interesting thing about this radio is it has 30 channels in it. Now, obviously, there's only 22 frequencies available for use for both FRS and GMRS. But this is currently on channel 27, which is one of the repeater channels. Now I have my repeater running on Open Repeater on the Raspberry Pi with a couple radios going to dummy load in the home office here. So I'm going to go ahead and key up on that repeater. And we heard the repeater courtesy tone. I think I've got like a 3-second hang time set on that. But that was actually sending out the signal on the repeater frequency there, which I am using DPL or DCS, digital coded squelch, for admission into that repeater. All right, so let's go ahead and get this radio connected into the computer and take a look at the programming software. I've got the standard Baofeng style programming cable. I'm going to plug it into the Kinwood connector on the side. And then let's go ahead and switch over to my desktop here. This is my repeater that's up and running. Let's go ahead and get to the software. So this is the Retevis page for the RT76. So I've got another tab open here already on support. Let's go ahead and download the software. Download's finished. Bring this over to the side here. All right, so the first thing we see here is that this software is obviously not signed by Microsoft. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to run anyway. And this is kind of funny. Let's take a look here. So I go to start the install, select language, rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. So let's take a guess here. I'm guessing one's going to be Chinese, one's going to be English, and who knows what the other one is. So betting man here, I'm going to go with the second choice because I'm guessing it's Chinese first and then English. So let's give it a shot. And that looks good. I see it in English to start here. Name, I'll just go ahead and put in my initials. Okay, installing. Let's install for, I only want to install a shortcut for me. Sure, we'll go ahead and install to the default. And there we go. Go ahead and finish. All right, so here we have the application as it's started. Now I'm on a full HD monitor here. This is 1920 by 1080. And you can see this window doesn't really scale, which kind of sucks. But let's go ahead and just make sure that we have our COM port set correctly. So first problem is I can't actually select the COM port. This radio is plugged in here on COM port 10. So let me see if I can change my COM port setting. Let's go into advanced, COM port number, and my computer thinks all these are in use, so that's going to be a problem. So I changed it to COM port 7. Probably going to need to exit the application and start it again. All right, still not seeing COM 7. Looks like I might need to restart the computer. All right, so I didn't have to reboot my computer, but what I did need to do, I had to go in and view hidden devices. So I went up to my device manager, view, show hidden devices. Once I did that, I saw that I had a bunch of other prolific USB serial COM port drivers in here. I just went ahead, right-clicked, and chose to uninstall the ones that weren't active. So this radio is currently on COM port 7. So if I come over here to COM, select the radio button here for COM 7, click OK. I'm going to turn the radio on, and we're going to click read. So we can see it's downloading, read finished. And in here we can see that these channels are fixed. I can't change the frequency, which is good. That probably is related to this radio being FCC Part 95 accepted. So I can't change any of these frequencies. And you can see in here as I scroll down, we have 30 channels listed in here. And Channel 27 is the one I'm using for my repeater. And if I go over here to channel 19, you can see, which happens to be the same as the output frequency of the repeater. We can see I have regular CT CSS tones, regular digital coded squelch tones with normal polarity. So I'm going to go ahead and select one of these here. And then you can also see that I have inverted tones. Now, one of the questions I'm sure somebody's going to ask, because it's pretty common for GMRS repeaters, is to have split tones, meaning my transmit tone is different than my receive tone. So let's give that a try here. I'm going to go to the repeater channel 28, which is 462.6750 for the receive, and 467.6750 for the transmit frequency. So I'm going to say, let's pretend that they have that they're expecting to receive. So on my transmit side, they're expecting to receive on that repeater a DCS tone of 466 narrow. And then on the output side, maybe it's putting out a PL tone of 100. Let's see if it'll allow me to take that combination. And it does. So it requires me to first put in my receive or my decode tone, and then my transmit tone here. Now for most repeaters, we're going to be on wide. I have the voice compounder, which I'm going to leave off. And then this is the feature I was talking about earlier, the frequency hop. This is not what it seems like it would be. I interpret frequency hop as being this is going to jump between frequencies as I transmit. And I was really curious to see how this was implemented. But what I think this actually is moving channel 28, the one I'm currently on, into position number 1 on the radio. So we're going to try this. I think that's what's going to happen. So if I look and I move this into slot number 1, 462.675 with a transmit of 467.675. And normally, let's turn this one off. And normally this radio would transmit 462.565 in position number 1. So let's go ahead and write this and see if that's the way this works. Right, finished. Okay. I'm gonna turn the radio off, unplug it.
26.
All right, so I'm on 26, 27, 28. So on channel 28, I'm going to turn on my frequency counter here, change my gate speed. So I got the frequency counter up and running. I hit transmit, and we see a frequency of 467.675, or close enough to 675. This is an ancient frequency counter. All right, now let's go through the very long process of getting this over to channel 1.
27, 20, 25, 20, 20, 20, 21, 20.
Because remember, if I spin the knob, it doesn't get me anywhere faster.
9, 8, 17, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 30.
Ooh, hey, look at that. It actually went from channel 1 down to 30.
20, 30.
That's good to know.
1.
All right, so I'm on channel 1 now. Channel 1 in the software, if we go back and we look at that software, channel 1 would normally be 462.5625 would be my normal transmit frequency. But in the software here, if you recall, I said I want to hop channel 28 to position memory channel number 1. So let's see if that's what it actually did here. So I've got the frequency counter, and we hit transmit 462.5625. $462.56. That's not what I was expecting. All right, well, that didn't work at all like I was expecting. I thought that when I set the frequency hop here to have a particular channel hop to 1, 2, or 3, as you see in here, that it would move it to that position on the radio knob, but that's not at all what happened. Best I can tell, this feature doesn't actually do anything. So right now on the radio, you can see on here that I have frequency hop 1, 2, and 3 selected here. Let me try something here. I'm going to try having more than one of these set to number 1, and let's see what happens. I'm going to set, so channel 9 will set to 1, and channel 1 will set to 1. And let's also set channel 3 to 1. And why not 2 as well? So let me plug the radio in, and let's program that up and see what happens. I thought that this was going to have the radio position, channel position, moved to that slot. So for example, if I wanted to use channel 27, which is a repeater channel, and channel 19, which is the simplex version of those, right next to each other in the first position of the knob, I thought that I could go in and set the frequency hop numbers accordingly. So channel 27, I thought I could assign to frequency hop slot number 1. And then channel 19, I thought I could assign to frequency hop selection number 2. But that's not the way it works. So let's figure out if this, how this actually works. Turn the radio on. Let's go ahead and write this to the radio. So it's writing now to the radio. Well, it will since I hit write. You can see it go there. All right, so it's written. I'm going to turn this radio off. Let's program the second radio. Got the other radio here. Plug this guy in, and let's go ahead and write to this one as well. Oh, there we go. And now we've written on this radio also. All right, so I've got both radios programmed up. Channel 1 here. Channel 1, channel 2. Channel 1. So I've got channel 1 on both of these radios now. Let's get the frequency counter. Let's see how this works. Let me get that so you can see it, and so I can see it. All right, so checking on channel 1, 4625625, which is what we expected. I can hear it on the other radio. Also on channel 1 on second radio, 46256, which is the frequency we are expecting. And I'm not seeing any hopping behavior here whatsoever. Check, check, check. No hop, no hop. All right, let's try changing channel 2. Checking 1, 2. Yep, that's the expected frequency, or close to it as far as my counter goes. And not seeing any hop. Check, check, check. Yeah, interesting. Oh, check. Yep, still seeing the same frequencies here. There doesn't seem to be any sort of hopping behavior. And if we go and we look, again, you'll see that I have all of these set for frequency hop number 1, but it doesn't seem to actually do anything. So I'm absolutely confused as to what this frequency hop feature does. As far as I can tell, it does absolutely nothing whatsoever. There are a couple other things in here probably good to just point out. When we go into the optional features, we can see the squelch level is set in here at the radio level, so we can't change our squelch for a given frequency. Of course, we do have the monitor button on the side to blow squelch. Of course, that would override any CTCSS or DCS tone on the receive side. You can see we do have a timeout timer set. We can choose between English and Chinese or nothing. Battery saver. So I don't know what the timings are on these battery savers. I haven't taken these radios out in the field yet, but they're standard and super. I suspect that it's just a matter of how long the receiver is going off between these two. Warn, native warn, and remote warn. Haven't messed with these. Not really interested in any warning modes, so I'm leaving those off. We've got our mic gain. Whether or not we're using the battery save feature, so this should be a binary toggle as to whether or not we're going to use this field here, beep, and then optional Vox. No interest in using Vox in any of these either. All right, so what do I think of the radio overall? So not bad. On the good side, this radio has a pretty good build. I really like the weight and the size of the radio. It's got a very nice positive click on both the volume knob here coming on,
27.
as well as the buttons. The buttons all click very nicely. We've got the monitor button, the channel announce button,
27.
and then of course the PTT. Coming in on that repeater there. And of course, it is FCC Part 95 type accepted, which is fantastic. We actually have a pretty good build non-commercial radio with FCC Part 95 type accepted. And this is the really important part, is that it supports split tones. So I can use it with a repeater where that repeater operator has a different transmit receive tone, which is oftentimes done just to keep people from out of the repeater who aren't a club member or that don't belong to that repeater, by listening to the output tone or figuring out the output tone and plugging it in on that. But this radio does support split tones, both DCS and CT CSS, or digital code of squelch, and regular PL tones or CT CSS tones. It's got that nice drop-in USB charger. I love it when radios charge over USB, because that's most commonly the way that I want to charge my devices anyway. It makes it easy to charge it in the vehicle or while I'm camping off a battery pack. It's pretty loud, and it does use the standard Kenwood or Baofeng style accessory jack. So my existing earpieces, speaker mics, programming cables all work just fine with this jack, as expected. On the bad side, things that I don't like about the radio, there's no visual way to know that it's on, other than the fact that I added a white dot to the volume knob here, so I can actually see the position of the volume and whether or not the radio is on. But there's no flashing light, there's no display on it, which means you also have no visual way of knowing what channel you're on. The Rotary Encoder knob, while it does allow you to jump from channel 30 to channel 1 by continuing to rotate it in a clockwise manner, there's no visual indicators what channel you're on. So if you want to make sure you're on the channel you expect, you're going to have to press the button on the side
27.
to get that channel announce. And changing channels takes a while. One of the more common use cases for me is going to be using it on a repeater and then wanting to talk on the output frequency of that repeater as well, the simplex frequency there. So also what's called talk around. So on the repeater, normally it would transmit on one frequency and listen on the other, and those are in the repeater channel slots on this radio. So the one that I use most often on this radio is going to be channel 27. But if I want to then do a talk around, I have to switch to channel 19. And there's no way for me in the programming software, as far as I can tell, to have channel 19 and channel 27 right next to each other on the rotary knob. So if I want to do a talk around now, I've got to go from channel 27,
20, 25, 20, 22, 21, 20, 19.
so now I'm on channel 19, and now I could actually do the talk around on that repeated frequency. And you were hearing the CWID of my repeater through this through the other radio I had sitting down here on channel 27. That's what you were hearing in the background there. But it makes it hard to quickly switch between channels. Just not something I'm a big fan of there. It's also worth mentioning, and should be pretty obvious, no DTMF on this radio. Not a lot of use cases for DTMF anyway, but as a repeater owner, repeater operator, if I want to disable my repeater or change some settings on the repeater, I need to use DTMF to do that. So for me, I would either have to use a different radio or use something like a DTMF generator on my smartphone in order to send those DTMF tones. Probably not a big deal for most people. Overall, I do like the radio. I do think it's a pretty good build quality and actually really good value for the money. So, $38, $39 for the radio, typically shipped. I think I got two of them for like $36 each, shipped from the official Retevis store on eBay. So very good value for the money overall. If I were going to make a couple changes to the radio, I'd love for the antenna to be removable. So I could put a different antenna on it. Not that big of a deal. Also means I can't hook it up to my bench meter though to test the power output. And then I'd love to have some sort of positive indication on here as to what channel we're on. If it's a 30 channel radio, have 30 channels available on the rotary knob that we can switch between with a diagram of or engraving of what those channel numbers are, and then the ability to move frequencies and map them to different channels, because I want to be able to go from the frequency that's stored in channel 27 to the frequency that's stored in channel 19 pretty easily, and that's not super easy to do in here. But again, overall, pretty happy with the build quality on the radios. I'm looking forward to using them more.